Hey, happy New Year. Happy New Year, everybody. It's good to see so many folks joining us the first Sunday of the new year. I got a little bit of a chest congestion going on. I was in Maryland over the holidays with my family there, and on the way back, I must have caught something. So you might hear that in my voice as I talk, and I apologize if I'm not as robust as I'd like to be. So, a question, the new year is often a time for reflecting on our intentions. And a question we could ask ourselves as we consider what our intentions are for this coming year is is what will guide us, right? So what will guide us in forming our intentions for the year, as well as carrying out our intentions for the year. And on that, there's two things I wanna bring up here. There's a Japanese saying, a Japanese Zen saying that goes, Shingyoku de Chui. So I want to talk a little bit about that saying and another commentary that will help us understand the worldview out of which this emerges, this Japanese saying emerges. Okay, so the saying Shingyoku de Chu-i translates roughly, literal translation is Shingyoku, true jewel. De means muck. Chu is the center, and I means wonderful. Or a more another way to translate that so that it makes a little bit more sense. The true jewel wondrously appears in the muck. The true jewel wondrously appears in the muck. Another possibility for this word wondrously, as in wondrously appearing, and one that I actually prefer is strangely appears. The true jewel strangely appears. A little bit different nuance there. Right? What is it? When we get that sense of the strangeness of something, strange, it captures our curiosity. Oh, that's something very strange. I hadn't noticed that before, before this. Right? You may be observing something and it's just a normal observation. You don't notice anything in particular, but then something strange happens, right? And so this phrase is pointing to the strangeness of, what is strange? When we start to contemplate, and Zen meditation helps us to think about, to reflect on the strangeness of our existence, the strangeness of being simply alive, right? If we start to really think deeply about it, because oftentimes we're just walking through the world or driving through the world and things seem normal, right? Or nothing is unusual unless something big happens in our life, right? Unless there's death of some sort or something strange happens. But this saying is talking about the everydayness of our life, that which we take for granted, is also just the fact of being alive, just the fact of having been born. There's something very, very strange and wonderful about that. And this is different from the worldview that I think propels Western civilization. Right? This is not a worldview that says we start out with original, like this kind of original sin. There's nothing, I don't mean to get into a theological discussion about that as one being better than the other. But I'm just suggesting here that there's a worldview at play that recognizes the wonder of simple existence. And it doesn't, right? So this doesn't mean, what I'm saying is it doesn't mean you have to join a club in order to get to the strangeness. You don't have to become a member in order to experience the wonder of being alive. That's our birthright, right? That's a slightly different, actually it's a 180-degree different worldview from the worldview that many of us are embedded in just by virtue of being born in the West. We kind of take it for granted. Not all of us, but even if we're not really religiously inclined, even if we weren't brought up, say, Christian, still we have this sense of, there's something wrong about my life. There's something, and I got to fix it, right? So Buddhism doesn't start out that way. It does say we have some issues to deal with, but it doesn't say we start that way. We start, there's a wondrousness to existence that we're missing, that we've become blind to. There's something strange about this that we need to pay attention to. And so we can reflect on that in Zazen. Right? Zazen is about opening to that strangeness, that mystery, the strangeness, and the true jewel, the Shin Gyoku, I think are synonyms for each other. The true jewel, the Shin Gyoku, it appears strangely. Right? There's a synonym there, that jewel. The strangeness and the jewel are intermixed with each other, right? And we are simultaneously surrounded by samsara, the muck, the mud, right? That jewel, the strange, is in the middle of the muck. It's in the middle of the suffering of our life. It's in the middle of not getting what we want, not getting our desires fulfilled. That's there too. That's there too. Right? In fact, the not getting what we desire is, in some respects, the cause for this appearance of this strange jewel. But let me clarify that this understanding of this jewel appearing in the center of the muck requires for us, this understanding of this jewel appearing strangely doesn't just, our ability to see that doesn't come spontaneously only or by a magical occurrence. It doesn't come simply by insight or concentration. It comes from reflecting we have to be careful there. Concentration on this is not enough. Concentration in Zazen is not enough. We need to know the wider context in which we are living our life, the wider context within which we see the world. And this particular statement doesn't come from a worldview that is machinistic, machine-like, right? Time-oriented, time equals money. It doesn't come from that worldview. It comes from a different worldview. So here is a commentary on the I Ching, the Book of Changes, an ancient text, the I Ching, the Book of Changes, and there's commentary written on it, a famous commentary. And this commentary, I bring it up because it can give us some insight into the worldview that can help us understand this statement about the true jewel appearing strangely, right? Here it is. Here's the commentary. It's from the Um, Wen Yen. Here it is. Like tone, then this precedes Buddhism's entry into China. It precedes it. Like tones resonate together, like energies seek one another. Water flows towards moisture, fire moves towards dryness. Clouds follow dragons, winds follow the tiger. Sages arise and the 1,000 things take note. The heaven-rooted feel kin to above, the earth-rooted feel kin to beneath. Like this, each follows its own kind. Okay, that's the commentary. So the first line, like tones resonate together, water flows towards moisture, right? Fire moves towards dryness. This very much is similar to one of the ancient Zen poems that comes after it, right? You've heard of the Sando Kai. Many of you have chanted it or recited it before, right? Water flows towards wetness. What does that saying go in Sando Kai? Fire heats, wind moves, water wets, earth is solid, eye and sights, ear and sounds, nose and smells, tongue and taste. So we're taking Buddhism and it's connecting with a worldview that was already present in ancient China. But how does this connect with us, right? So a question we can ask ourselves to help us connect with the sense of water flowing towards moisture, that we resonate with things that are like us, is to ask the question of ourselves, what are you like? What do you naturally gravitate towards? What do you resonate with? Right? That's the question. What is this? How is this relevant to my life, to your life? But in general, one way to understand this passage is to recognize that we gravitate towards things that are like us. We gravitate towards people that are similar to us in views. We gravitate towards people that share common interests. We move in the same spaces as them. We move in that direction. And it's somewhat unnatural to go otherwise, right? People gravitate to a Zen center because they like peace and quiet. They like the stillness. They like meditation. If you like to sing and dance as part of your spiritual practice, you wouldn't come to the Zen center, as great as that would be too, right? But there's another part of this commentary that reads something like, clouds follow dragons. Clouds follow dragons. So the first part of it is kind of talking about going with the natural flow of things, right? Water goes to moisture. In a flood, if there's water and the ground is dry, the ground doesn't absorb the water. It floods. It floods out into the street and it builds up. But if the ground is already moist and it rains a torrent, the ground is able to better absorb that moisture, right? So in the same way, we go together with things that have similar characteristics to us. And in some sense, it's natural for us to go with the flow. That's this first half of this. The second half is pointing to something else. It's saying that the clouds follow the dragon. Now, this worldview is very strange for us in the West. What do you mean clouds follow the dragon? I don't have any conception of dragons in my worldview growing up. That's not the worldview I was born into, a worldview that recognized dragons. So what's this dragon? Let's focus in on what does it mean here to talk about clouds following dragons? Well, first of all, let's take let's take the dragon as a metaphor, as a symbol for something mysterious, something strange, right? Something strange. And the clouds is a metaphor for the weather, right? The clouds circle. If you see Chinese paintings with dragons or Japanese sumie paintings with dragons in it, the dragon is always surrounded by clouds, right? And so the clouds is this, one way to think about it, if you think about the weather or the climate that we're experiencing, the weather that we're in, there's something strange about, none of us can say, we can't push a button and control the weather. None of us have that kind of control individually. So the weather moves in a mysterious sort of way. And that mysteriousness is the image that comes to the Chinese frame of mind. I don't mean to put this image, maybe this isn't the proper way to think of this from a Chinese perspective, but I'm just using my own understanding of this. The image that comes to mind could be that of a dragon, right? There's a strangeness happening. Is something beyond our control at play with the weather? And in a similar way, there's something beyond our control when it comes to the circumstances of our life. We want to tamp down on things and make everything organized and uniform and work hum along, right? And yet there is this mysterious thing happening at the center. Interestingly, Dogen, Zen master Dogen, conjures up this image of the dragon for us when he refers to Zazen. He says, do not doubt the true dragon. Do not doubt the true dragon. Zazen itself, he says, there's this dragon, right? Instead of saying, well, there's a mystery, there's a strangeness, we have an image of a dragon. These images can be very, very powerful, right? We don't have to rationally think, oh, dragon means X, Y, and Z. Dragon, what does a dragon do? You don't know which way it's going. You don't know if it's going to breathe fire. You don't know where it's going to land. Right? There's something uncontrollable about it. That's at the center of our practice. That's at the center of our life. That's Zazen even. Zazen is that. If we try to control meditation through breath practice, which is a formidable and good practice, we're not going to recognize the dragon of Zazen, the wildness there, the wonder, the strangeness. Right? If our meditation practice is all about controlling our mind and controlling our thoughts, we've missed the point, I'm sorry to say. If that's what you thought Zazen was about, was to control your thoughts, control your mind, I'm sorry to say that's not really it. That may be something we experience sometimes. But if we're pointing ourselves at that, we're going to eventually be disappointed because life is way more chaotic. And Zazen is a reflection of that chaos. And I use chaos in a very positive way here. Zazen is it's a mirror of the chaos of our life. So if you got chaos, hey, you're on the right track. If you got chaos in your life, plus for you, can you hold it? That's our practice. Can you embrace it in some way? It's scary. Can you embrace the scariness of this life? Right? We're constantly trying to put that chaos at bay. Right? And that's okay. We can do that. We can do that too. But remember, there's something more. There's something more that we may be missing. And here's another piece of this. The clouds follow the dragon. This word follow, this word that's been translated as follow, there's other possible translations of it. Obey, serve, yield, observe. Any of those are possible. So the Chinese doesn't land on one particular verb. There's many possibilities. The word obey, for example, a lot of people don't like that word in English. It has very negative connotations. But I kind of like it, actually, for Zen practice, because there's some aspect of our practice where we have to, here we go, we have to obey something that's bigger than ourselves, something that's more mysterious than we can understand. We have to obey that. I mean, we could trying not to obey, not following, right? Not serving, but that's our practice, is to serve, to follow the dragon, to obey the dragon, right? That's not something that comes easy. That comes with some effort. What we're talking about here is the dissolution of our egos. If practice is about bolstering up our egos, that's another practice. There's a time for having a strong ego, that's for sure. But there's also a time for dissolving that ego, bowing to the greater forces that are there. And so the clouds obey the dragon. The clouds follow the dragon. The clouds serve the dragon. And that's what Zazen is leading to us towards, is how do we serve that dragon in our life? Right? What's the dragon? What's the dragon in your life? How do we serve it? How do we obey it? How do we bow down to that dragon? Right? How do we bow our heads? Wow. There's something incredibly liberating for me when I can recognize the need for bowing down to something greater than myself. There's something very liberating when I recognize that I'm not in control and I can bow down to those forces that are greater than me. Wow. When you can do that, there's something very powerful. Try it out. When you bow in ceremony, when we bow at Nebraska Zen Center to the ceremony, try bowing in that way where you're completely letting go of your ego. Say, let me serve whatever it is. Whatever this is, this strangeness of my life, I want to be of service. I want to be someone that can be of service to others. And in Zen practice, we talk about ending the suffering of others. What can we do to end the suffering of others? What can we do to end our own suffering, right? All right. So this practice, this idea of serving the dragon, obeying the dragon, following the dragon, requires some bit of effort. Now, if we take this back to the original statement I mentioned, that the true jewel appears wondrously, strangely in the muck. This insight is not going to come without effort. Just as the cloud obeys the dragon, follows the dragon, serves the dragon, that takes some effort. It takes a dissolution of ego to get to that jewel, to get to that true jewel, that Shingyoku. So the question, what is it that guides your life as you consider your intentions for this new year, as this new year lands on us? Right? What is it that guides you? Another question maybe you could ask yourself is, who is your master? Who is your master? Right? I'm still trying to discover that for myself. I don't know my master. I don't know. But I know that master is there because I didn't give birth to myself. And I don't choose the day that I die. I don't choose to get sick. These things happen. I don't choose to have wonderful experiences with people. They just come. And I have many of them. It's wonderful. Something's bigger happening here. And that's something that's bigger that I can't understand. I can't explain it. That's my master. I don't know who that master is, but it's there. So I'll ask you to consider that as we go into this new year. The true jewel strangely appears in the middle of the muck. Thank you.
Want to take questions? I've got a thought, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
It occurred at the very start when you started talking about strangeness, because it got me back to my college days when I was learning German way back when, and their word for foreign languages is Fremdsprache, which is translated as foreign languages, but the word Fremd in it also means strange, so it means strange languages. Which when you're learning, when you're learning any language, right? At first it just seems absolutely bizarre, and you can't wrap your mind around it. You're like, what are these words? And you meet people that can speak it, and they're going, and you're going, and slowly through practice. And you can't just, you have your book practice. You study, right? Theoretically, you learn the grammar, but you can't learn to speak a language just by studying out of a book, just the rules. You have to literally get out there and make a fool of yourself, practice, be corrected, like not mind just saying the wrong. You'll be saying stuff, people will be looking at you like, I said something completely wrong. I know, but I'll never know what it is. And then like a year later, you'd be like, oh, I sounded like a fool. That's kind of, I think that's kind of what we're getting at with this strange jewel, right?
Yeah.
Don't be scared to get out there and
Yeah.
hands dirty, right?
Yeah, I think you're on to that, Shinku. Yes, yes, you understand. You understand it. I think language is a perfect, yes. Learning a new language is a great way to jump in head first into the strangeness of existence. I mean, I could be speaking Japanese right now, and you'd be like, "What?" I don't know Japanese, so I couldn't do that. But if I were, or if somebody was speaking German or Swahili or Chinese, it just wakes us up to the strangeness of the fact that, right, these vibrations go into the ear, and somehow the brain interprets it in a way that makes sense to us, and then we can respond. That is utterly weird, right?
Thank you for your talk, Daishin. And just kind of, I don't know, what Shinky was saying, what that brought up for me, just as far as like kind of, I don't know, just sitting every day and I don't know, when you first start that, at least it was for me in my experience, you were talking about how you were kind of comparing it to like learning a new language, which to me feels really like that really resonates with me, and it feeling strange, but I think more specifically because in fact, I was just talking about this to my friends last night. Like, I think we are taught and conditioned from a very early age to like live 24/7 inside of our head and to, constantly monitor our thoughts and to live our life from our thoughts and to even like identify with our thoughts. Like, I am my thoughts. And that has all kinds of like negative outcomes, I think. And when we're first introduced to, and whatever the practice is, like certainly this is the case with like Zazen, but obviously there's other practices like yoga, which I know you know, Daishin, but the strange language of like the foreign language of starting to just inhabit our bodies more and to disidentify with our thoughts, realize that I am not my thoughts, and to kind of have a foot in both worlds. Like, you're not trying to push your thoughts away, but they're also just thoughts, like they're just there. And And just because a thought appears doesn't mean that it's necessarily true or that I have to believe it, or and once we're able to inhabit our body more and just notice our thoughts become less compelling. And I think the good outcome that comes from that, of being able to inhabit our bodies more and live our life from like a more embodied place, is that we're not pulled and jerked around by these beliefs that we have, this kind of programming that's in our head. And that, takes time to kind of like purge yourself of all of those habits, I guess, of being in your head 24/7, but it's worth it.
Right, yeah, there's a lot more options that we have that we're often not aware of. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
to your
Diane.
point, it's sort of like the thoughts serve to mask the strangeness of existence.
And I think they can prop up that, I don't know,
The idea of normalcy.
well, absolutely, we're here in like in a human embodied form. We're definitely having like an experience of separateness, but we're having that within the more fundamental reality that literally nothing is separate. And so how do you balance that? And Zazen, that comes into play too. And learning how to balance, this felt sense of separateness, which I guess ego, we were talking about ego, but how to balance, have a healthy ego within this fundamental reality that actually nothing is separate. And yeah, it's all very mysterious. I don't know.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Hey, Diane, what's up?
Hey, Daishin, thank you so much for your talk. Very much appreciate not only the content and the wonderful questions you raised, but also the joy you bring to your delivery. So you asked a couple times, who is our master, or what do we bow down to? And I have found lately, for me, it's gratitude. That just keeps coming up as a thing. I don't know how else to say it. Not something I consciously think about, but it's there, and it particularly arises when I am in the moment and saying it's enough. This is enough. Then that gratitude arises. So today, that's my answer to your question.
Beautiful. Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Thank
knowing enough. Knowing enough. Thank you. That's a hard one for us too. We're inundated with so many blessings from all corners, especially over the holidays. I don't know about other people's families, but we just get flooded with gifts and things. And I of course appreciate all of it, but at the same time, it's so much, and it's hard to know sometimes I think, oh, just one gift would have been so fine. I'm happy with this one. And as soon as I get another one, I can't really fully appreciate the one I just got. And I think that's a problem for us, because we don't know, we really need to spend that time to, at least I do. I don't know, it's just the way I don't have a brain that works so fast. I need to spend the time just to contemplate one thing at a time. I can't do many things at once. And so that contentment, that sense of knowing that you've got enough, we can get easily distracted from it when we're inundated with so many blessings. The blessings themselves can maybe turn into a curse. Right? But yeah, watch that and see if you can. I think that's a very worthy master sense of gratitude. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess something that I've been thinking about lately is, I think I definitely like of like what are you like worshiping, or what are you bowing down to, or who is your master? And I guess a question I have with specific to like Zen and Buddhism is like, because it feels weird to be trying to like just like pick for myself, like what am I, it feels weird to surrender to something that I'm like first of all like picking like, okay, this is the thing that I will choose to surrender to specifically out of like, it feels kind of intellectual intellectual, I guess, to try to be approaching it that way. I guess what I'm asking is if you think there's anything that like Zen specifically would call us to be bowing down to, or like
That's a great question, Megan. Yeah, thanks for that. That is a great question. Yeah, no. So that's what we come in, that's the worldview we come into. Like when we think of this in a Western world, you have to have an object of worship, right? And Zazen doesn't give us that. It doesn't give us that luxury of an object. Like this is what it is. And it does, and it doesn't. It can, and sometimes not. Right? And so what is it? Right? That's the thing to think about. Like, what is it for me? I'm just thinking about this myself right now too. I mean, we all go through our lives and we're not thinking about this stuff too much, myself included. But right now, with a baby, I guess what I'm bowing down to is that baby. Right, taking care of a baby, I'm bowing down to that baby. I'm not physically doing that, but sometimes I am. I'm on the floor with her, like getting down on my hands and knees. I'm bowing down to that baby. It's not, I guess so saying that it's a choice is also somewhat problematic. It's like, what, because it's not really a choice either. It's like, what is it that we're bowing down to at this moment when we're doing some activity? We might not think about it in that way. But one of the things that I think can clue us in when we're not doing it is when we're rubbing up against when suffering enters us somehow. When our suffering enters us somehow in our mind or in our heart, we feel some dis-ease, dissatisfaction, going back to that discontent. When that's there, that's a moment when we need to recognize, oh, wait a minute, there's my master. Oh, here's my head right here. Oh, thank you. Thank you for your teaching, right? It's whatever life presents. For some people, it's a cancer diagnosis, for example. They get a cancer diagnosis. For some people, it's their loved one saying, no, I don't want to join you in this. For some people, it's a broken plate that fell on the ground accidentally. What is our master? It's whenever, like my teacher would say, it's the Buddha pressing on our heart's doorbell. Ding dong, are you going to answer the door? Right? And what's the doorbell ring beckoning us to recognize, to wake up to? It's when we don't get our own way. Whenever we don't get our own way, when we don't get our wishes fulfilled. There's the bodhisattva that grants all wishes. And then there's the bodhisattva that doesn't grant any wishes. There's a story about those two bodhisattvas, by the way. In an ancient town in China, they found this bodhisattva that granted every wish that you wanted. And people started realizing, oh, this one, she grants all my wishes. I'm going to go to her. And soon everybody was making wishes and their wishes were getting granted, but it was creating additional disharmony in the community because what people wanted wasn't all the same. And they were starting to fight amongst each other so much so there was war in the community because everybody was getting what they wanted. And then they started to recognize the value of the bodhisattva that doesn't grant wishes. And slowly they started to go to that bodhisattva and make a wish and say, thank you for not granting my wish. Right? So, Zen is not going to say, you pray to the Buddha, you're going to get what you want. That's just not the way life works. Right? We don't look for that. Sometimes it happens. It's nice to be able to have that. We can do that. We got to, right? But which bodhisattva is it that we're praying to? Is it the one that grants all the wishes or the one that doesn't grant all the wishes? You should be lucky if you get the one that doesn't grant any wishes. And, and again, this is where effort comes in, right? is where we got to make efforts. We don't have, if we're not getting what we want, okay, well, hey, I got to work harder for this. If I want to see that true jewel, I gotta put more effort into it. Dogen says it with at the beginning of his instructions for Zazen, right? Buddha practiced for 6 years, Bodhidharma for 9. How could we dispense with wholehearted practice? Right? We got to put that effort in, and then it'll yield results. But yeah, so that question, Megan, I don't know, what do we? Is there something specific? And I just want to resist that because that. Yeah, it's going to be different for all of us. It depends on our own life circumstances. So what do you, the question is to pay closer attention to your life as it is and where we suffer and kind of looking at that. And, we might not be able to get to the root of that suffering. We might not be able to solve the problem, whatever it is. Can we just place our palms together, recognize, okay, this is bigger than me. Doesn't mean we give up on it. It's just, it becomes our koan, right? It becomes our koan. I don't understand this. Okay, it's my koan. I'm gonna bow. I'm not gonna give up though, right? So that's a thing. We don't give up. Just because we don't get what we don't want, doesn't mean we give up. We keep at it.
What I hear you saying, Daishin, is bowing to the reality of our lives, the truth of our lives in this moment. Knowing that's going to continue to change.
Yeah, but it's also specific, it's not a universal, when we say the reality of our lives, I hear you, but then there's a specific thing, there's something solid and concrete that really shows up in our face and it's just like, here I am. Yeah. But that's also, Sangha. Sangha is there to support us through these difficult times when they're difficult. So we don't have to do it alone, And in another sense, we bow to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, right? The Buddha, there's these wonderful legacy of teachings that so many wonderful teachers have left us that we can take our nourishment from. There's the Dharma, there's the Sangha, there's a community that desires to wake up. And no, even the Buddha was not, he got his life in danger many times. He was 3 assassination attempts on him, at least 3, from his own cousin who was jealous of him. And he died of food poisoning. So, what does it mean to wake up? What does it mean to be a Buddha? Does it mean I do this practice and everything's going to go smoothly? That's not it. But getting back to that, that center, we're born, we are jewels in a sense. We are that jewel. And we don't often recognize the jewel there too. So even when we don't get what we want, the zazen of reflection, turn the attention back and notice the wonder of you. That's your birthright. That's our birthright. All right. Well, I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. I'm looking forward to it. We'll have a 1-day retreat, so please come join us on Saturday. We'll have a Zazen Kai, right, from 9 to 4, I think it is, in a couple of Saturdays from now.
We'll have full moon on Friday.
Full moon ceremony. Yeah, follow the precepts. They're good guides. Yeah. We've got an ongoing precepts class that my partner Jisho has been helping to facilitate there on one Saturday a month. So if you guys want to study the precepts and then do the precept ceremony, those two can go hand in hand, like hand in glove. Yeah, that's a full moon ceremony.
And same weekend, we'll have a a farewell potluck for Shinkyu. It's gonna be moving on
Definitely,
next
definitely come.
year. Yes.
Definitely come. Shinkyu has been such a rock for us, what do you call it, an anchor for the Zen Center. So thank you, Shinkyu, for that. We're going to appreciate your jewel, the jewel of Shinkyu for the next 2 weeks before he goes on to practice at Shasta Abbey, yeah, in California for a few months. And we hope you'll come back and see us then too. Let's love to see how your practice is progressing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. All right. Well, let's bring it to a close, folks. Thank you so much and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you.